New York City FC, they can clinch a playoff spot. A few other things have to happen other than a win. It's a Hudson River Derby. We're going to have the radio voice of the New York Red Bulls with us to help preview. And we're going to review New York City's draw with Inter Messi. All on NYCFC Views Live.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. NYCFC Views.
Collins approaches the shot, and New York City wins the first MLS Cup on their first try, and they're going crazy. Tiene tiro y gol! Gol! New York City es el campeón de Major League Soccer!
The sickest New York City FC podcast. It's gonna be sick.
All right, 4 games left in the regular year. I'm Glenn Crooks, Roberto Abramowitz with his nice haircut. Very nice.
Thank you.
You look very. It's taken at least a week off of your your age. All right, so you're
89 and 51 weeks. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
No problem. And I have no old quotes this week, so I don't have anything to share with you.
No dad jokes. Good. We're good.
No bad dad jokes. None at all. All right, so this has been we had some fun in this Inter Miami match, and now we've got the Hudson River Derby. So a couple of back-to-back games here that are interesting. I hold in my hand the possibility of New York City making the playoffs, and then I also have in my hands the possibility of the Red Bulls making the playoffs. Their scenario is a little different since they lead New York City in the standings. New York City has to win. I feel it's like one of those parlay cards. Remember when you told me how much you despised the Cleveland Browns, or that they were terrible or whatever? And
despise the Browns?
You told me how bad they were. Not despise is the wrong word. And then I played them on a parlay when I was down at Monmouth Raceway, where they have a sports book, and that's the one that didn't come in because I voted against them. But my point here is this is sort of like a parlay. It's going to be really hard to accomplish.
So you're telling me that you bet against me, against what I said, and then...
No, I bet what you said, and that's why.
You bet what you said, and you lost. This is why I don't bet. Now you know why I don't bet.
No, that's why I sent you a text saying, "Nice going on the Browns." You don't remember that?
I didn't realize what it was. Okay.
Yeah, that's what that was all about.
All right.
Anyway, so there are possibilities for either New York City or the Red Bulls to clinch. I don't think there's a chance that both of them can clinch because, they can, because actually the Red Bulls don't have to win, but a lot of other things have to happen. If New York City wins, a lot of other things have to happen. We're not going to go step by step through them. If you go on MLSsoccer.com, that's where I printed these off of, and they'll have the whole thing for you, Roberto, if you're interested. And
of course, we'll need to talk about this on Saturday.
Matt Harmon is the radio voice of the New York Red Bulls, has been for a long time, just like ourselves with New York City. He's going to come in at about 20 minutes past the hour to help us preview. Now, we're on again tomorrow night. We're doing back-to-back nights.
Yes,
so we're going to focus. We're going to focus more on the Red Bulls tomorrow night, but Matt could not make it. He is he does like we do. He does other commentary, and he's got a Monmouth University basketball game to do tomorrow night. So,
nice.
So I said, come on tonight, and we'll get into it a little bit anyway. But let's first go back to Inter Miami, and if I could steal from the outfield, where they do those little graphics every week. It's pretty funny. I think they're humorous where they do the artistic.
I do. I like them.
Yeah. Well, the Sandman rises, and certainly he did. James Sands. Right?
Oh,
I mean, my
he
goodness.
rose. He connected. He scored.
Now,
first goal ever for New York City FC.
Well, let's get to
that.
Yeah, I'm ahead of myself here, and I know you don't always know the order I have, but
no, I don't. You don't share that with me, and then you yell at me for not knowing.
No, that's okay because I think the spontaneity is what it's all about here.
Okay,
but let's start at the beginning, which is the well, it's even before the tifo, where outside of the Yankee Stadium, where New York City supporters do their march before the game, Inter Miami and Messi and the big bus, tried to get through and did get through, but not without a good New York City welcome, which I think the supporters got off to a really good start there. It's stuff that we wouldn't be able to publish if we didn't want profanity to be laced during the course of our program here.
Yeah.
But we're
very much PG. We're 100%
it was humorous.
PG.
It was humorous to see the photos and the flipping the bird and the whole thing, So off to a good start as far as we're not deferring to Messi. We're rooting for New York City FC here. Then this tifo emerges. Now, we're going to see it in a minute because I thought it was great that Nick Cushing, after the game, made mention of it. And you don't always know if the coaches see what's going on, but I don't. This is what I appreciate about Nick. He doesn't miss a thing, man. Like,
yeah,
whatever we say on this podcast, he'll probably, he's not watching it, but it'll get back to him if there's something he thinks is interesting. Stuff like that. So here is Nick post game 1-1, and then we'll get back to James Sands as well because it was really one of those incredible moments. But here's Nick after the 1-1 draw.
They supported us throughout the game. They really give us life and energy. When the shout comes for the opposition, I love the fact that our fans sang over it as a really proud moment because I've seen different in other stadiums where you go away and you can hear the opposition's players' names being sung and the Messi shout is ringing around the stadium. And, it started off in the first half and I could hear the New York fans sing over it. And it's, I love that. That tells me that we have a real heartbeat, a real soul in our football club. And that I think that is what will be the inspiration for the moment to give our season a kickstart, is seeing all the New York fans tonight come out and really be behind us and have a desire. One thing I will say, and I hope you guys can print this and make sure our fans see it. I love the tifo. The tifo was something that really, really gave me spirit before the game.
Yeah. I mean, the coach doesn't always mention the tifo. And Roberto, explained the tifo because it got a lot of press.
It did. So I think supporters did themselves really proud with this one because they did the right thing. Support your local club. Because obviously what's going to wind up happening, and we've seen this even happen with PSG, all these people that followed PSG because Messi was there, and the minute Messi left, nobody will, none of those people were following PSG. And we pretty much suspect that that's what's going to wind up happening with Inter Miami, that people are supporting Inter Miami are really just supporting Messi. And it really doesn't matter where he would play. They will support him anywhere. And it's understandable when you have a fan base such as he or Cristiano Ronaldo, who are basically the only two players that can do that. But, the stadium was full or close to full, 95% full. And all the people that came with Messi shirts, they're Messi fans. They're not Inter Miami fans. And there's a lot of people who had Argentina Messi shirts, and that's cool. And there's a lot of people that had Inter Miami Messi shirts, fine. But the point being is that once Messi leaves, where if that be after the 2025 season or after 2026, if he decides to hang around because he wants to be in good shape for the World Cup, if he still has a chance to play that those people will disappear. And I don't know if the folks at Inter Miami are going to be able to do enough to make sure that a large percentage of that fan base or any percentage of that fan base stays post Messi.
Yeah, but
and that's going to be, and that means that they're not Inter Miami fans, which is what the point is. They're really Messi fans. And if he leaves tomorrow and they play again, nobody's going to show.
Okay. But then the bigger point at Yankee Stadium is, and Nick said it in the post-game presser, how they shouted down, they being the supporters, shouting down any Messi chant. And like he said, I mean, we know Soldier Field, Chicago, there's places where he's ended up and they've had these massive turnouts that it has been Messi getting the cheers. and Inter
Because-
Miami getting the cheer. So
and
there was
part
none of
of
that.
that-
There was like none of that, right?
Right, and I think that a large part of that is that for those games, Messi fans turned out and they got their regular support. I think in this case, what wound up happening is that there was a lot of New York City FC fans that came out that we probably haven't seen in a long time. And so that was a big part of the crowd because it wasn't like an overwhelmingly, pro Messi crowd. It wasn't. I mean, I think more than half the crowd, and it might even be a lot more than that, was a New York City crowd. And so it became a real home crowd. And then you had, every time somebody studied up a Messi chant, and I heard a couple of times, they got drowned out by New York City fans immediately. And I thought that was absolutely great. And here's hoping that a lot of these kids that are local New York kids that came to the game with their Messi little shirts and all that, that they saw the game and they were like, I really like New York City. They played really well, and I got excited for them, and they're going to come.
I hope that happens, but I don't think you're drawing a lot of new supporters from what happened in this game. But I hear what you're saying, and maybe, just maybe, if they stayed for the whole game and it ended like this, that would provide the inspiration. So let's hear this. Let's hear that. We've got the two calls, first in Spanish and then in English, of the 5th minute of stoppage time. And James Sands, the Sandman rises. Let's do Spanish first, Jimmy.
Viene el balón hacia el área, remate de cabeza, ¡gol! De James Sands, su primero como jugador de New York City FC. Inter Miami solo había permitido 3 goles de cabeza en todo el año. New York City empata sobre la hora. Delirio en Yankee Stadium.
Here's
All
the
right.
corner ball, far corner, bent in. And it's James Sands with his first career goal! How about that? Drake Hollander, hands on hip, showing his frustration. New York City FC. It was the Fernandez free kick that ricocheted out for a corner. And at the death, Sands got inside of Thomas Avalos at the top of the 6. And what a time for Sands, the 24-year-old, the first homegrown signed by the club to get his first career goal. It's the leveler here in front of 44,000 plus. And how about that, Matty?
What a time to score your first. And the performance of NYCFC deserved this. You don't always get what you deserve for in football, but they deserve at least a point here. And the referee's looking at the watch and blowing the whistle, Glenn.
Yeah, it was the last kick. And I agree with Matty. You deserve that point. And what a way to cap it off. And so enjoyed your call, Roberto. It was, for us, yours. We get those moments sometimes, and we're going to bring Matt Harmon in a moment, the New York Red Bulls radio guy. I'm wondering what some of the moments that he remembers clearly or maybe saves for his children or grandchildren, to share it with them someday. I don't think you have grandchildren, do you, Matt? Well, we'll check with him in a minute. But anyway, so 1-1, Sands scored. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but there are sometimes in commentary where because James has been pretty poor in front of goal when he's had opportunities, right? He can make a penalty.
Yes,
he can make a penalty, and so he's okay in that area. But the air game, trying to put it on frame and score, we've often said, no, what's he doing so close to the goal? Get him back as someone to prevent the counter.
So normally, we've got to take this into consideration, right? Is that, and over the past few years, since he came back from Rangers, where he did score a goal, by the way, so it's not his first professional goal, it's just his first New York City goal.
Yeah, go ahead.
But the point being is that the way New York City sets up is that James Sands is normally 10 yards outside the penalty box, being the last man in front of the goalie. So very few chances that he normally gets to go in and head one.
But there's reason for that, right? Why would you put a guy who you might rely on scoring He's out there because he's had opportunities and it hasn't worked before.
Are you saying that that's the reason that he's out there, as opposed to maybe being the best guy to stop a counterattack, if that's what's coming his way?
Correct.
That's a little bit. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. I'll take it as no, he's not the worst guy in the box. Therefore, we're going to leave him out of the box. I'll take him because they believe that if something happens the other way, he's going to be the best guy to make sure that it stops.
You have a guy with pace as that guy, number one.
Tavon Gray is almost never. Tavon Gray is your fastest guy aside from Martins, and both those guys are much closer to the box than Sands is.
I'm explaining to you how I would set up the corner kick to prepare for a counterattack. Always have your fastest player with his heels or her heels at the halfway line in case they break through everything else. At least that person can get tracked down, whoever might be coming through, and then, whatever they need to do to prevent it. Yes, is Sands a favorable player to have there to prevent a counterattack? I think so. I don't deny that. I'm just saying, if you're proficient in front of goal on set pieces, then that's where you're going to be, and somebody else will be sacrificed to draw a yellow card. And maybe that was part of it too. They didn't want Sands getting booked to stop one of those counterattacks. And
they already lost in that game. They already lost in that game for the next game. Strainia Tanasiewicz and Santi Rodriguez.
That's correct. And those are they're both big losses. Tanasiewicz, in the event Burke Reese isn't ready, it's not going to be a disaster if Justin Hack starts at left central defense. We know he can do it.
Yeah, he can handle it.
And as far as Santi Rodriguez, you know exactly what's going to happen. I think one of the most important players in that game on Saturday is going to be Maxi Morales. I think his performance, I think, will help dictate whether New York City can get the quote unquote road win at their third home, Red Bull Arena.
Well, it is a road win. It's a full road win without any quote marks because they are the away team.
Well, I know, but it's that because it's their third home. But it is a road game. It is a road game. So I want to just throw something up. We've got Matt Harmon standing by, and we're going to get to him in just a couple of minutes because I've got to throw this in from a coaching standpoint, okay? So Messi, number one, he got a FOTMOB rating of 5.8. I'm sure that's his lowest ever. He had a pretty average performance. James Sands, the aforementioned, who scores the big goal, also did the job defensively along with Tanasiewicz, I think, and to a lesser extent Martins. Those three really put the
Kevin O'Toole too. I'll give credit to Kevin O'Toole who had him on the wing for quite a bit of the game.
And also Santi Rodriguez, who came flying down and dispossessed him on 2 occasions. 5 times Messi was dispossessed. 5 times. He had 1 touch inside the New York City penalty area. 1 touch. And he had 1 shot from outside the area, and it missed the target. And that was it. But he did have an assist on the opening goal. It was the second assist. And here's the screenshot. And this involves Tavon Gray. And Roberto, so there's just a little. So if I'm going back and having a bit of a coach session with my players, or maybe I'm sitting with Tavon Gray, or maybe it's the entire back 4. So that's Messi, who has just played the ball on the inside of Gray. That's James Sands, who is side by side with Messi and trying to hassle him to the point where he can't deliver that. Where should Tavon Gray be right now, Roberto, do you think?
Probably marking the guy who's wide open, who's about to get the assist on the goal.
No, he should not. When you say marking, I'll give you a second chance. What do you mean marking?
Being between the ball and him to make sure that he can't make that pass.
Okay. So here's where I think Gray should be in a zonal back 4. He needs to be back along that straight line, but in a way where that ball cannot be played on the side it's played on, because that's easy for Alba to run onto. And you can see Gray has to turn his body. If he's back along the line, that pass is never made. And where Messi will make the pass is to the outside, and then Gray can track
him down.
He can close him down then. So this is a lack of organization moment. Gray, though, sees that Messi's dribbling, and he makes the decision to come out and engage. And the moment he took one step, and this is what makes Messi great, he took one step towards Messi, and then the pass was slipped in behind. And then eventually it's Campana who scores, and it's 1-0. And this is after such a good run of play for New York City and putting the clamps on Messi, except for this moment.
You know, the funny thing is that I'm looking at this image for the first time. And can we go back to the image for a second? So we go back to the image. Jesus, I'd love to draw a line there and see if he's not offside.
Well, the ball's already released. So you see
that's true too. Yeah, so it's not exactly. You're right. I take it back.
And it was close, but that's not an accurate reflection. So
no, the ball's released. You're right, 100%. I take it back.
All right,
I take it.
Get it out of here, Jimmy. All right, so we're going to talk more about the Red Bulls tomorrow, but we're not going to have the opportunity to get the expert analysis like we will right here, Roberto. And before we do our kicking around segment, let's welcome in the voice of the New York Red Bulls. His name is Matt Harmon, and he's always welcome here, Roberto, because another Jersey boy. So we got Jersey versus New York. It's 2 versus 1 here, Matt. So very nice. Let's go.
Are you going to just like start? Are you like trying to edge in for a job with the Red Bulls or something because you're in Jersey? Is that what you're trying to say?
I'm a former season ticket holder. I was a faithful
Red Bull by the way,
supporter before New York City was born. I went to all the games, and that's why when I say and when I talk about some of the sparse crowds that they've had over the years, I get angry because I'm a Jersey guy. I was there when Red Bull Arena was born, and it just has always bothered me that the New Jersey soccer community doesn't support this club more than but the crowds this year, Matt, have been better, it seems. Yeah,
crowds have been good, guys. Good to be on with you. And yeah, I would say the crowds, you know, whether you're going strictly off the numbers, which have been better for sure, I would also say the crowds have been way more engaged during the course of the game. And factor in the beginning part of the season, I think we went, I want to say the first 7 games, whether they were midweek games or Saturday games, it rained every single game, every single home game for like the first 7 games. It was raining, but yeah, I would say overall that the crowds have been pretty good.
And the record is for a while there, it was just you and the Galaxy that were unbeaten at home, and now it's just the Galaxy. So the record at home has been good too, yeah?
Yeah, the record's been okay. I mean, listen, the story of the season, I would say, is the last part of the record. And if you're an American soccer fan, you know that deals with the number of ties, and New York has had too many of them. They've let too many points slip off the table. Steve Jolly, who's my radio partner, he and I have said, if you took the 14 draws that they had and even said you win 4 of those games and maybe lose 2 of them, you'd be in a better spot, because just getting a point in essence, half of your games has really held New York back a little bit. And it's been, on some levels, I'd say frustrating in the last couple of games. That's a pretty good way to describe it.
I guess the best bet for this game on Saturday is it'll end in a draw. New York City's got 11 of them. That's 25 between them.
I don't think any of the 3 of us want to see that, to be fair. Another draw at Red Bull Arena is definitely not what anyone is looking forward to. If you're
if it's 4-4, that'd be fun.
Yeah, I mean, it would be fun to call, but I mean, let's be honest, between the 3 of us, both of these teams really need 3 points.
Yeah, they sure do. I mean, New York City has now dropped to 7th place because of goal not goal difference, but goal. Yeah, actually, it is goal difference. 3 goals. Yeah. Charlotte is +3. New York City is at 0. 43 goals scored, 43 allowed so far. They're 3 points behind the Red Bulls, who are in 4th place. But then you've got to jump Charlotte. You got to jump Orlando, who was getting smoked by Columbus, and then they made it really, really interesting at the end of the game. So it's a very tight race about who is going to wind up in positions 4, 5, 6, and 7.
Yeah, well, it's fun.
And it's important too, you know, when you think of it. I mean, the advantage to being 4th is in that best of 3, you have home field. If you need the 3rd game you've got it on your home field. I would argue there's another side of it where if you're in the 4-5 matchup and you come out of that, you know where you're going in the next round, and that's in a one-game winner take all down in Fort Lauderdale. And realistically, who's going to want to play Miami right now in the playoffs? I know you guys would say, and there you go, Roberto.
Yeah,
NYC,
yeah, absolutely,
would based off of that. But I mean, let's be realistic about it as well. It's a one game down there. That's a lot different than being able to grab a last-second point over the course of the last weekend.
I get it, but last time that they played, which was before that in Miami, they played them very, very even in that game. At the beginning, Inter Miami was better. Suarez got a goal, and then Martinez tied it up, and it was pretty even. No, I know that it was no Messi. And then when they played,
hold it, and
Ballon d'Or. Let me finish my point.
Busquets started at the back. Come on, man. That was not the Inter Miami that you're going to see.
All right, so New York City played without Berkrisa this week. I mean, come on, you're going to start that now.
You're comparing that? You're going to compare that?
What kind of show did I agree to come on to here tonight?
Well, it's going
to be more than a debate. I see.
To shout him down when it's ridiculous. Matt, I want to ask you a couple of things here. So, John Tolkien, 1 assist, and he just got his first assist last game. What's the story there? This young whippersnapper who I like, I'll take him on my team, 1 assist, and then Van Zier hadn't scored for forever, and I'm wondering if Red Bull supporters give him as hard a time as Monsef Bakrar was getting, and that's kind of calmed down a little bit because Alonso Martinez is scoring goals, so people aren't as angry with Bakrar. But what about Tolkien first?
Well, I'll start with Tolkien. I won't necessarily focus on the negative. I would say I don't know that he's had his best season in a Red Bull uniform. He's been out a little bit on international duty. I will tell you this: we saw the best version of John Tolkien last weekend than maybe we've seen in quite some time, and that's dangerous for teams going forward because he is at his best when he is given free rein to go up the left side and look for balls on service. He can take players on one-on-one, but I think the thing that definitely we noticed on Saturday, albeit in the draw with Atlanta, was he had a different look to him. He had that spark back in his eye. He looked completely engaged, and I think right now his focus is making sure possible spot moving forward in the playoffs. So if you take Tolkien and he has been, I would say, a source of criticism during the course of the year.
I didn't even know that.
Whether you want to say rightfully so or not rightfully so, that would be a debate for probably another show. And when we had more time, I will tell you right now, I think John Tolkien is re-establishing who he is as a player. And I think that will be a really good thing for Red Bull in the last month and into the playoffs.
Let me ask you this about the Red Bulls and their attack. Okay, unexpected goals, right? If you love that statistic or not, that's, they're number 5 in the league at 50.6. Yet in goals per match, they're 15th at only 1.6 goals per game. Why is that for some of us who may not be watching the Red Bulls on a regular basis?
Well, I mean, it's very simple, Roberto. They haven't finished enough of the chances that they have. And if you look at the team and, Crooksy, you just mentioned Van Zier. I mean, he has been criticized during the course of the season because he's one of your DPs and he's got 3 goals on the season. The chances have been there. The opportunities have been there. Has it been a little bit of bad luck? I mean, go back a couple of games in which Red Bull was beaten by Philadelphia. They hit the post 4 times, like literally hit the post 4 times. And those games will happen. But there has been too many games, and it speaks to the number of draws that they have, ties that they have on the season in 14. There's been too many opportunities where you're leaving the stadium and you are scratching your head saying, how did we not win that game? How did we not, albeit, I think the game against Atlanta last weekend is a perfect example. Red Bull goes up 1-0. They are dominating Atlanta in the first 45 minutes. Can't find the second goal. Can't find the third goal. Then Atlanta scores 2 to come back, and then Red Bull grabs one where at the end of the game, you're saying 2 things. You're saying wow, glad we got a point out of a game where in stoppage time we had 0, but how are we not putting teams away? It's been and listen, you guys have been around the game for a long time. Glenn, I know from a coaching perspective, you could appreciate this. What does every team want? They want someone who can score and find the back of the net. And for most teams, not just in Major League Soccer, but worldwide, you're looking for those players that will finish. It's been an issue this year for Red Bull, no doubt.
At the end of the game, they had a penalty kick, and Luis Manuel wound up taking it. Why didn't Lewis Morgan take that penalty kick?
We talked about that on the broadcast, Roberto, and Steve initially said Lewis Morgan should take it. And then as we debated it a little bit, I won't say debated in a negative way, it was Manuel drew the PK. He is a guy who takes PKs for Red Bull. And it was almost maybe one of those, hey, you drew it, you take it type situation. It turned out not to work. And had that been the case, had Red Bull scored that was a PK that is in the 89th minute of the game. You close things out. You probably win the game 2-1. To Manuel's credit, he did come back and score the goal in stoppage time to salvage the point. You wish he would have scored from 12 yards out. But it's been that kind of year. I mean, it's been a year for Red Bull where you're looking at it defensively, been pretty good, short of a couple games, creating chances going forward, playing a little bit of a different style than maybe they've played in the last couple of years, with a little bit more control, a little bit more possession. But you just have not had guys that had finished a good number of the opportunities. Put a little star next to that because you played the last couple of months without Emil Forsberg, who probably makes things a little bit easier for New York.
Yeah. And is he available this weekend, or is he out?
I can't tell you guys that. I can't give that high level information on this New York City podcast.
I've heard he's out. Just confirm he's out.
To be fair, this has been kind of the target date for him to be back for quite some time. So I would imagine you see him in a Red Bull uniform this week.
And give me an idea of the corner kick that they're attacking with first that you saw training today. You got that?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I will not be at training until tomorrow. So we're recording this on the perfect day.
All right. Yeah, we're going out to New York City training. Wait, we can trade notes off the record, and then we'll see what happens. Hey, Matt, thanks so much. Great to see you. We'll see you on Saturday up on the roof of Red Bull Arena, where we get this great bird's eye view of the game, and look forward to it.
Great view. Enjoy it, guys, while you're there. I'll look forward to catching up with both of you.
Okay, man. Matt Harmon, everybody. Voice of the New York Red Bulls. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yes.
It's the players deciding who takes the corner kick. Do you know how much I despise that? And I can't believe the number of professional coaches that just leave it up to the players. No. And especially in a moment like that, and
not corner kicks. You're talking about penalty kicks.
A penalty kick. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Penalty.
Okay. I was like, really? You get that involved? All right, fine.
No, not with
micromanage. Yeah.
No, the corner kick is all set up too, but no, the penalty. I mean, Manuel taking it ahead of Lewis Morgan. It's a great question. And if Morgan is their best taker, then that is absolutely ridiculous. Just because he got fouled? Come on, man.
Well, remember
you put your best
having this
guy
issue
there.
Remember that we were having this issue with New York City in Patrick Vieira's first year, with Pirlo taking all these free kicks, and aside from one that somehow got through the wall against Philadelphia and beat Blake, Pirlo wasn't close, right? And then, we kept on asking Patrick Vieira, when are you going to let David Villa take some of these free kicks? And he said, well, they basically decide on the field. And I'm like, why are they deciding on the field? You're wasting all these opportunities. Why isn't it that you start saying you guys have to start sharing this? Because David Villa had a better track record in New York City FC than Pirlo did as far as free kicks were concerned.
He's a player's manager that way. He was still, maybe it's a little too close to his playing career, where he probably took charge, at Arsenal. And I don't know. I just don't agree with it. I mean, your best guy takes the kick, period. That's it. Yeah. Don't hand it to somebody out of love or, you drew the penalty, it's your turn. No.
If it's 4-0, yeah, do that.
Yeah, I guess. Yep. Yep, you can.
But when you're 1-1, you're trying to win the game in the 89th minute.
But we
It's
don't
like,
know.
yeah, no.
We also
My
don't know
penalty
exactly,
taker is taking it.
we also don't know exactly what happened, so we're not sure.
But what we do know is that Lewis Morgan didn't take it.
That we know. That we know. All right, to close out the show, let's go kicking it around. Well, in a little less than an hour, Campeones Cup. We remember when New York City got a trophy, and this year it's Columbus Crew SC trying to get another one for their rack, and they're playing Club America, which makes for a good match. I mean, that's what I'll look forward to watching. I do have a conflict because I've been drawn into watching Caitlin Clark play basketball, I have to say. And
you and millions others.
Yeah, well, I mean, the figures, the viewing figures are just incredible what she has done, not just for the league, but probably for women's sports. Like you put that thing up, you sent that Sportico article to me today about the NWSL and the valuation, and it's up 57% across the league. Someone like Caitlin Clark puts a focus on women's athletics, and it's all that helps. All of it adds up.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll probably be switching back and forth a little bit there. U.S. Open Cup final at 10:30. Sorry, man. I'll probably be sacked out by then. LAFC against Sporting KC. It is an interesting game because Sporting KC is like one final win away from tying the record for most U.S. Open Cup titles at 5. And LAFC, they get to a lot of finals and then they lose. Now we know they've won one MLS Cup title. But they've been in 4 consecutive finals and have dropped all of them. CCL, Campeones Cup last year, MLS Cup to Columbus Crew, and then Leagues Cup to Columbus Crew. So
didn't they lose? Was it? And before that, they lost Champions League to Tigres. Yeah, that was back in COVID days. That was in Orlando. They were winning that game 1-0, like into the 70th minute, and then
was that a final?
Good night. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now, the other thing about Columbus Crew, now this is kind of interesting. So the White House is getting involved in domestic soccer. First, Gotham FC became the first NWSL champion. This blew me away to visit the White House.
Mm-hmm.
It's the right thing to do, but wow, did that take a long time?
It did.
Columbus Crew, likewise, will be visiting on September the 28th. So they're going to go.
The Bidens, by the way, are big soccer fans. The Bidens have always been big soccer fans, and they've been supporting the U.S. national team. They've been in the locker room, and they've always, there's a history there. You can look it up and look up videos of them being with the teams and all that, and knowing what he's talking about.
No, they've done some things with the U.S. women for sure, and Megan Rapinoe was honored at the White House and I don't know what the medal was, but she got a medal and it was draped on her by Joe Biden. Now, to call them great soccer fans, I don't actually think that's the case, but they know when and how to support at the right time. And it's a good moment. And maybe, they probably are more soccer fans than maybe Kamala Harris is or Donald Trump, even though Donald Trump's son Barron played soccer. I'd be interested to know if Donald Trump ever saw his kid play a game. I really would. But who knows?
if there was a chance to play golf, probably not.
Yeah. So that's that. Christian Pulisic beating 4 defenders and scoring in his 4th straight game. That was pretty cool with AC Milan.
Yes.
And he started that 4-game streak against New Zealand. So, it's that goal was stupendous. It was extraordinary.
And to do that in that derby, in that stadium against that opponent, is pretty damn cool. And they won the game when they weren't favored.
How about
that? They were the underdogs.
Yeah. You mentioned Patrick Vieira earlier, or we did. You brought him up. He apparently is a finalist for the Atlanta United job. That's reported by Tom Bogert. And I had a friend overseas. I sent that tweet, wrote me back and said, how reliable is that source? And I said, well, he doesn't get much wrong. And if he does, he comes right out and says, no, it's no longer in play.
Yes.
But I mean, Patrick Vieira is a finalist for the Atlanta United job. I don't think there's any question about it. So that would be cool to have Patrick back in MLS if that works out. Meanwhile, Ronnie Dyla is one of his assistants here. Efrain Juarez is at Atlético Nacional in Colombia. And John Rojas put some disturbing stuff up on our group chat today. But he's a former New York City guy, so I thought I would, or we could share this a little bit. But his head's already on a chopping block after 3 games?
I haven't seen it. I've been out all day, and I had also a different podcast on the NFL, so I haven't seen what John put. But I know they had an issue.
Yeah,
they had an issue a couple of weeks back where allegedly, and I will use this word again, allegedly in capital letters, after one of their games, there was a party, and women who were not very well known to the players were invited to the party. And that's his welcome to Colombia.
Well, he had to hand out some suspensions. I translated some Spanish today just to see that. But anyway, it's too bad. He's a Mexican in Colombia, and who knows how much that has to do with what's going on. All right, Roberto. So we're going to be back again tomorrow night live at 6 p.m. How about that? Back to back. I believe that's our first back-to-back days. Don't get used to it. It's not like we're going to 5 days a week or anything. That's not going to happen.
No.
But anyway, it'll be fun to talk more about New York City and the Red Bulls, and then some other stories here that we could share from around the soccer world. But now,
because I got a chance to go to the meeting at New York City FC headquarters. They've rented a different floor from where their headquarters is on the 30th floor, and they invested. I'm just going to quickly just say what it's about. So they invested a lot of money and built out what the suites are going to look like, and then they put up all this information and stuff. And I mean, it's just pretty amazing what the stadium is going to look like and what is going on with it. So I asked a few questions about this. I asked some questions about Mauricio Claure, and we're going to have all of that for you tomorrow.
Excellent intro to it. And Mauricio Claure was at the game, at the Inter Miami game. And my final thought here as we close is I just go back to a midweek presser, Matt Freese, saying we're going to try to treat this game as a normal game. And then at pregame, I saw more people on the field during pregame warm-up than I've ever seen. All the muckety-mucks were there. And it was anything but normal. So I'm only bringing that to light because if you're going to treat a game and try to treat it normal, then treat it normal. But don't treat it normal if it's something that's big and exciting and happening, which is I'm okay with that. But don't talk about.
He wanted to treat it normal. He didn't say the rest of the team didn't seem to get the memo. It reminded me very, very much of the Man City AC Milan game where everybody was on the field. I mean, it was the same sort of vibe. And they had a great crowd for the Inter Miami game. What is it, 44,738?
Yeah,
I mean,
great.
Second largest crowd in the history of New York City. They'll never break the record because Yankee Stadium has taken out some seats from when they had over 48,000 for their game against the Red Bulls in year one.
Yeah. All right. Well, got to look at what Roberto toured at the downtown New York City facilities where they have these renderings, and it's pretty cool, as Roberto said. All right, so for Roberto Abramowitz, I'm Glenn Crooks, and we'll give you our details for the radio broadcast because we'll be doing that on Saturday from Red Bull Arena. But this has been live NYCFC Views.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast NYCFC Views on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and